G7 country, inflation in the UK is double that of France. UK growth is now projected by the OECD to be the second lowest in the G20 next year, only sanctions to the Russia inflation works in the UK, the end of freedom of movement in France. UK growth is now projected by the OECD to be the second lowest in the G20 next year, only sanctions to the Russia inflation works in the UK, the end of freedom of movement.
That's fine. I like you, Peter.
50. Hi Alistair, you seem to be the first one in the door. Let's hope others will be joining you soon. Are you on the YouTube link? Give me a thumbs up on the YouTube if you've got a link. Let's have a look on Facebook. Make sure it come up. Yep. Right. Yeah, a minute, see how many people join. Hi, Brian. It would have been difficult to see how many people was on the feed. But right, this will last. Glad you could join me. Get a minute, let a few more get on board, and then we'll get this broadcast underway. Everybody hear me okay? Somebody give me a thumbs up. Or somebody leave in the comments where you can hear me okay. I know the First Minister speaking now. I've already heard the substance of her speech. What I wanted to hear from the First Minister I heard, and that is the referendum goes ahead with or without Westminster's permission. The rest of it, we can catch up with. So, I guess a lot of people will be watching this one on a watch back, so I'm just going to get this broadcast underway. So it's Indy Truck Davey. Put the truck in his home, in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is cloudy and 13 degrees. That's the weather forecast for Salisbury, North Lanarkshire. If you want to know the weather forecast like where you are, look at the bloody windy. All right, so this is the news review of Monday, the 13th of June, 2022. But before I get underway, I'd like to say happy birthday to Bobby, Russell, Jacqueline McGee, Stuart Cram, Jim Cunningham, and Paul McLaughlin. Happy birthday to you all. Okay. Right, Monday started with two main headlines in the rags. Agency staff bill doubles in NHS Scotland from 2014, and the death of 24-year-old Jordan Gatley in the Ukraine. Okay. On the bill for bank nurses and doctors to rising to 435 million, almost double what was spent in 2014. Well, that's an interesting headline, eh? Why a comparison with 2014? The last Scottish parliamentary term started in 2016. Could it be that the propaganda machine is claiming an independent Scotland couldn't afford bank nurses and doctors? The truth, of course, is NHS Scotland, like other NHS services across the UK and the wider world, it's still fighting the global pandemic. Frontline staff are knackered. Lots of them are taking holiday time that's owed and needed. Others are often off ill or isolating with COVID. Then, of course, there are those who have retired over the 2-year period or left due to the stresses of fighting the global pandemic. So, you know, the nurses were going to go up. The cost of bringing in bank nurses and locums was always going to rocket, while doctors and nurses are fighting the pandemic, because there's a good few of them at a time are taken off the front line because they have to isolate, because they can't keep working in the hospitals and spreading the virus around. It won't help. Okay. Right, now, let's move on. Now, on the death of the 24-year-old in the Ukraine war, well, the young fella left the UK armed forces and travelled to Ukraine to fight. Now, the lad knew what he was getting into. He'd been trained to operate in the theatre of war. His luck ran out. All right, the folks, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If the youngsters in your life are considering going to the Ukraine to fight and they are not trained to operate in a war zone, tie them down, tell them to sit and stay, take a tenner off them, give it to an NGO, which is providing humanitarian aid in Ukraine, and tell them they've done their bit. Take my word on this one, folks. The theatre of war is not somewhere you want your kids to go and play. Even if they make it back, they are going to make it back in a state. They're going to be messed up, and what they've seen will have an influence on their life forever. So I cannot stress enough, if your young person isn't trained to operate in the theatre of war, tie them down, get a tenner off them, get an NGO and tell them they've done their bit. Right, other headlines in the rags. Pleased to look at what industrial action they can take over what has been called the derisory pay offer and the Rwanda people trafficking flight in doubt as lawyers take up the cases of 24 of the 31 people due to be on the flight. Now, if the 7 remaining are flown out, the cost to the UK taxpayer for each person on that flight will be £71,428 and 57 pence. Not exactly what you'd call good value for money, is it? Anyway, the idea of the UK government getting into people trafficking is enough to make you sick. We'll get a wee bit more of that into the report. Okay, right, moving on. Monday, and it's been reported that 3,000 under 18s have been subject to strict searches by police in Scotland. Now, in the loony right-wing rag, the Daily Mail, they run with the headline that children aged 13 strip searched by Police Scotland. But actually, what the report actually says is 3,000 people under the age of 18. Now, it's not a good headline. Are the field suggesting Police Scotland are carrying out these searches for something other than lawful reasons? Propaganda machine at work, eh? Undermine parents' trust in police, methinks. Right, moving on. Monday, here in Scotland, it's been reported that a senior Tory councillor who stood in the last year's Holyrood election has been arrested for romantic fraud. I've no idea what romantic fraud is. Anyway, Andrew Folkson, who was the leader of Eastern Berkshire Council, Kilmae's council elections, was arrested and released on bail pending further inquiries. The 49-year-old has been reported to police by a 68-year-old woman who claims he convinced her to let him run her finances, then used her money to buy himself a home. Sounds like a unionist to me. Convince your next door neighbour to honour your wealth to them, and they misappropriate the funds. That's roughly what's happening in the UK when we send our taxes to the Treasury down that road in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers and get bugger all back. Right, moving on. Monday, and a good news story for Scotland. New ferry starts work in Calmac Fleet. The MV Loch Preacher built in 2015 in Norway as a passenger ship, finished sea trials and started operating as a passenger ferry on the Oban to Mull route. The ferry has a capacity to carry 195 people or passengers. Now the MV Loch Frisa will operate the route in tandem with the MV Coste, and another boat on the services between Oban and Craigmuir and Mull. Now Mull's other ferry, the MV Loch of Mull, will also service the island on its normal timetable. Now the arrival of the new ferry also creates 38 new crew jobs and onshore jobs. All right, 13 of which will be based in Mull, so it'll be boosting the Mull economy as well. Okay, right, moving on. Monday, Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon fires start pistol on Andy Reid too. The unionist, the unionist knickers are in a twist as the First Minister tells BBC's political director Glenn Campbell, in an answer to the direct question, "Are you now formally firing the starting gun on Andy Reid too?" The First Minister replied, yes. The First Minister says that today, Tuesday, she'll begin the launch of a series of papers setting out a prospectus for an independent Scotland. She'll also tell us the intention to hold Andy Reid 2 at the tail end of next year as a goer. Right. Now, over the last few days, we've heard the SNP's president, Mike Russell, tell us Andy Reid 2 goes ahead with or without a Section 30 agreement. And now the First Minister tells us today that that's the case. The First Minister tells us it's a campaign, it started, get on your marks, all right? Now, some in Marine ranks are saying it's just another carrot being dangled in front of our faces, okay? But there's a Davy says here. Davy says there won't be that referendum. Why? Because if no, the SNP's a busted bloody flush. That's why. And I mean that. So that referendum will go ahead. Any legal challenge that they think they're going to have later down the line, I doubt it very much. You know, so it's time for everybody to unite and stop complaining about carrots and the First Minister's not going to do this or do that. The referendum will take place because it has to. Otherwise, the political force, the SNP's done and independence is at the table. So I'll remind you all that divided movements don't win their causes, all right? Mr. Salmon knows this as well, and that's why he said he'll get behind the campaign. So it's eyes on the prize, partisan politics in your pockets, learn your howdy-gonies, get out there and win hearts and minds. We all only need to win over one person each. Since Davy started his new job 2 weeks ago, he's managed to win our 2. So we're rocking. Right, moving on. Monday, 2 p.m. rolls round. I'm doing that road in the house of thieves and carpetbaggers. The stupidest person ever to have been appointed Home Secretary, Liz Truss, he introduces to the Commons the international law-breaking bill on the NI protocols. All right. Now, the criminal cabal have decided not to honour the deal that they signed 3 years ago and sold to the gullible English public as an oven-ready deal. Right, that also let Bojo win his landslide. Right, now Bojo the clown and the rest of the criminal cabal are trying to tell us that what they are doing is legal, but it's no, it breaches international law. All right, so what's the plan? What's Westminster's plan for the NI protocols? Well, the plan is to stop checks on goods from this rock, the UK, destined for the north of the other rock, the island of Ireland. All right. It's also intended to let businesses in Northern Ireland choose whether to use EU or UK customs rules. And it also ends the EU's role as the final arbitrator on disputes in the European Court. All right, well, the protocol. Now, the other stuff that's in the bill is technical stuff that has to do with tax collection and the VAT regime. Now, the long and the short of it is the trade war's coming, right? And it's not just coming for one side, it's coming for the East and the West, as the Americans are no chuffed as guarantors of the Good Friday Agreement. Northern Ireland's First Minister in waiting, Michelle O'Neill, says Westminster is acting against the will of the majority of the people in Northern Ireland who like the protocol. And Northern Ireland is booming because it has access to the UK market and the European single market. Okay, so Sir Geoffrey Donaldson, the leader of the DUP, says they still won't form a government in the power sharing executive because it's only a draft bill and there's nothing on the statute books. All right. So why is the criminal cabal and the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers wanting to change the protocols against the majority view and the province? Well, Northern Ireland has become an embarrassment to hard Brexiteers, as it shows Theresa May's backstop plan to keep the whole of the UK and the single market and customs union was probably the only a form of Brexit that would have protected the Good Friday Agreement. So buckle up, kids, ration books at the ready, because there's a trade war coming. All right, moving on, Monday. Figures released by the UK government say the contraction in the economy is speeding up. The economic growth figures are out for the first quarter of 2022. All right, now what the report shows, let's give a monthly breakdown of the report for the first quarter of 2022. Okay, now the economy is contracting quite quickly. January 2022, the UK economy grew by 0.1%. In February, the economy flatlined to zero growth. In March, the economy shrank by 0.1%, negating January's growth. April saw the economy contract by 0.3%. The pace of the contraction will accelerate, of course, with the rising inflationary pressures, the impending trade war with the EU, the impending retaliatory sanctions from the US over the NI protocols and the Good Friday Agreement. Things ain't looking good. On the bright side, I think we Nicola has picked the right moment to launch the Indie 2 campaign. Anywho, the criminal cabal are in denial. When asked if Brexit is responsible for contraction and negative outlook for the UK's economy going forward, Bojo the Clown and his troop of Brexit clowns say it's too early to say if Brexit's responsible for the contraction in the UK economy, even though the report out on Friday showed leaving the EU saw a contraction of £31 billion in the UK economy in 2021. You couldn't make this comedy go right up, could you? Unbelievable. The economy's contracting like hell. They're starting a trade war. The US is likely to hit us with sanctions. Things are not looking good, unless you're a pro-independence supporter. Right, moving on, Monday. And down that road, in the House of Thieves and Carpetbaggers, in the second chamber, the Lord Bishops in the upper chamber, they write to the Home Office. They're not happy about the scheme to traffic people to Rwanda. And the Lord Bishops down that road said it's very un-British of the government to be getting into people trafficking. Right? The Lord's Bishops, the good gentlemen of the Church of England, also remind the criminal cabal down that road that what they're doing is illegal and it breaks international law on the rights to seek asylum. You couldn't make it up. They're just ripping up international laws and international treaties left, right, and centre down that road. Poof, big bonfire. Hey, and your rights are going out the window way. Because don't remember, if they can do that to people seeking asylum, what are they capable of doing to their own people? Once the Borders and Immigration Act is passed, well, it gives the evil one, Priti Patel, the right to remove your citizenship, even retrospectively. Right, moving on, Monday, and the leader of the Red cheek of the establishment's arse, Sir Conrad Stanley, is under investigation by the Standards Watchdog for incorrectly filling out earnings and gifts. information, right? The Sir Conrad Starmer missed the deadline to declare gifts several times. Now, down that road, I don't know if you know this, folks, but if they get given a gift or they're given work, payments for work outside their MP's duties, then they have 28 days to lodge that in the members' register of interest. Well, it appears that Mr. Starmer's failed in several occasions, the latest being declaring football tickets and an oil painting that he received. But Sir Conrad Starmer, the leader of the red cheek of the establishment arse, he says he thinks that the inquiry will find that he has done nothing wrong. All right. Moving on, Monday. And war criminal Sir Tony Blair given membership of England's highest order, the Order of the Garter. Now, apparently Sir Tony was booed when the ceremony was over and he came out dressed in this funny costume. They don't half love a funny costume down that road. Anyway, war criminal given the highest honours available in England. So there you have it, folks. Instead of being in the Hague and in the jail, Sir Conrad Starmer, Sir Tony Blair, he's promoted even higher up in the echelons of the elite down that road. Absolutely unbelievable. Right, they're the stories I picked out to talk about, folks. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it entertaining. Now, let's have a wee look at what the papers have to say this morning. And don't be surprised if the Union rags are all going absolutely mental. So let's have a look at the headlines this morning, shall we? And the paper review. The Herald goes on. Scottish manufacturing loses 27,000 jobs during the pandemic. Is it? That's what happens when you close your own economy down rather than closing the country down and keeping the internal market going. Spanners. Well, I've got the wrong way here. So that was the Herald. The Looney Rag, the Express, has Prince banned from ceremony after ultimatum over his return to public life. Andrew's rift with royals deepens over his birthright, apparently. As if we care. The Daily Telegraph has no tax cuts before inflation cools off. And that's Boris Johnson saying there won't be any tax cuts to his MPs because they want him to start slashing taxes. And the other one is Brussels to sue Britain in relation for move to scrap protocols. Right, the Times goes on. Independence will not guarantee better future, admits Sturgeon. No, it doesn't. Nothing changes the day after, except for the ability to build back better. There is nobody, and let me make this clear, there is nobody on this planet better suited to husband the Scottish nation and to husband Scottish resources than the people who live here in Scotland. Right, the eye has Church versus Boris Johnson. Bishops tell PM Rwanda flight shames UK. We don't deal with Murdoch's son. The Daily Mail has it's a miracle my boy survived a Styles gig fall. Apparently somebody was at the gig Ibrox for Harry Styles, I think his name is, and fell off a second tier. The National goes on. Yes, case launch. First Minister present the first of a new series of indie papers today. First details are revealed inside the National, apparently. The Scotsman goes on. EU threatens legal action over plans to ditch part of the Brexit deal. And Sturgeon starts new drive to leave the UK. The Looney Rag, the Daily Mail has, as Sturgeon launches yet another independence drive, for heaven's sake, change the record. Right, we're not going to change the record. Once we've got our independence, the Fail's going to be banned in Scotland. Right, the Metro runs on. McGregor backs Boss Clark. Football. And Sturgeon launches indie push. SNP leader to declare new campaign underway, but opposition slammed vote move as shameful. Which shameful? Upholding the democratic choices of the sovereign people of Scotland. Aye, that's shameful. Which shameful is the cuckoos in the nest being actual democracy deniers? If their case for the union is so strong, then get on board and put it to the people. Let's respect democracy, cuckoos in the nest. Make your case to the people. Wow. Let's see what the stars got for us today. That's normally as fruity as a nutcase. No doubt their boffins will come up with more space nonsense. But we'll have a wee look, eh? That's if it's here. And the star has sitcom plot shop, Judith in cabin teaser, sailor dad filling with famous star. I haven't got a Scooby with any of that's about, so we better have a look. The Daily Star of Scotland reports that BBC Scotland's weather reporter Judith Ralston says her sailor dad had a fling with the famous actress on an ocean liner, which may have resulted in a love child sibling. The paper says the stories inspired an episode of Still Game. There you go. I had absolutely no Scooby what that's about. I haven't watched the television in years. Right, folks, that's what I've got for you. I know a lot of you will be watching this and watch back the day because of the First Minister. Now, this is the first time I've went live on the 3 platforms. We'll get the information later on the data. So, if you like what I'm doing, folks, share for Facebook, share for YouTube, share for Twitter. That's the 3 platforms I've got on. I know it's went up in Discord already. Or it will be, there's a bot puts it up in Discord. So, that's, as I say, that's what I've got for you. So the usual stuff, here we go. Partisan politics in your pocket, games afoot, eyes on the prize, learn your how you gonies, and get out there and win hearts and minds. You only have to win one person out of your way of thinking, and it's in the bag. Okie dokie. Now, support the independent media, support Broadcasting Scotland, support Independence Live, Caledon Media, support the national newspaper, support independent vloggers and bloggers. If we've got a crowdfunder gone and you can afford to shove a couple of shekels in the pot, please do. These guys do fantastic work. As you know, me and Davey at the 2 Davies, we don't want your money. What we would like you to do is subscribe to our YouTube channel and to share our content if you think what we do is worth the effort that we put into it. All right. Now, health messaging. Follow the last 2 health restrictions of regulations that are out there. All right, because there's nothing in law. Face coverings in closed public spaces, and clean your hands and surfaces regularly. When it comes to social distancing, use your napper. If you're feeling a wee bit under the weather, get a mask on and just keep your distance from people a wee bit. Okay. And if you're still testing, please submit your results to NHS Scotland so that we can keep an idea, keep a good eye on what's going on out there in the community. Okay. Thanks very much for joining me this morning on this new way of doing things. So that's it for today. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all again. And no doubt we'll be listening to unionists screaming all day today, she's actually done it. Catch you all later.